podcast number 2 for Neil Adams Effective Fighting. I'm Niki Adams, and I'm here with our special in-house specialist, Mr. Neil Adams MBE. Our last podcast, which is now presented on Facebook, our Facebook page, dealt with the new gi regulations, and we've since found out that it's the World Championships in August 2011 that they will be making their debut. So that'll be full of comments for that time, and we'll keep following that as the companies, the new gi companies, have to submit their kits and see if they're able to be worn at the World Championships and the Olympics. Today, what we're going to look at is new news for the European Judo Union, looking to double up on the different weight categories, just like we saw at the World Championships in Japan. Neil, how is this going to affect judo, European-wise, but then ramifications of judo on a whole?
I think that the ramifications are great. I think as far as development's concerned, I think putting 2 in every weight category for the World Championships, it didn't do any of the smaller countries any favours really as far as development's concerned. And I think that as far as qualification points are concerned, obviously the countries that could put 2 in every weight category had a better chance to get points. I think now what's going to happen, and it's already happened in Abu Dhabi, in the under 60s and 66 kilos, where we had 2 Russians, the 2 top Russians, got through to the final. And actually it was the number 2 Russians that beat the number 1 Russians in the finals. Now, obviously that they're important points, especially if you've got your mind on certain players, to qualify and to be in your Olympic place.
Because it's not the place that you qualify; it's the person you qualify.
Yeah, it's the person, and so therefore, I mean, if it was the actual place, then it would be a great advantage. But being the person, if we're not careful, we're going to be cutting our own throats, and as they did in 60 and 66 kilos, the Russians, the number 2. Russians beat the number 1 Russians, so did them out of important points. Now you might say, well, they might be the ones that are going to qualify for the Olympic Games, and yes, they might be. But on the other hand, if it's very close and it could go to the wire in certain weight categories and for certain individuals, those few points could cost that one person qualification for the Olympic Games. I'm not saying it's going to, but it certainly could.
Well, so let's say I'm a coach and I get pretty savvy with this now, and I've got these 2 top dogs of the category. Couldn't I make this a strategic maneuver for myself in that get my number 2 in there, knock out everybody else, get to the final, have an all Russian, all Belgian, all Canadian final, and in the back, just flip a coin, or I have in mind who I want to go to the Olympics, so I'm going to push them through, make it not so obvious, but throw the fight.
I think you are going to have a situation where you have some of the stronger countries, especially this next year, as we start to really step up the race for points and qualification.
It's after April, isn't it? All the points are halved in April, and then it's the real deal after.
Then it is the real deal, and I think that the countries with depth will put their 2 strongest in, of course, and they're going to strong. Some of them, like Japanese and the Koreans, French in some weight categories, have got real depth. I'm talking about 3s and 4s as well. They're going to send the 3s and 4s or 2s, 3s and 4s out to stop other people getting important qualification points. And I think that, it's one of the reasons that I said the year prior to the Olympic Games that Europe should really close their doors and not let any of the Asian countries enter any of their open competitions. But that now is impossible because we've got a ranking system, we've got Grand Prix, Grand Slams and World Cups all over the world. And so, it would be difficult to do that. But certainly from a qualification point of view, if we were looking at it as a continent, Europe is one of the hardest to qualify anyway. And if you look at it, as qualification through Europe, then what we have to do is we have to be very, very clever with it. But we are going to have the top Asians coming over and knocking people out in different weight categories and stopping them getting very important points.
All right, so what we're talking about being as a continent and continental qualifications and that. Myself as being a Canadian, I look Pan-American-wise. Are the Pan-American unions, the Oceanic unions, the African unions, are they all going to follow suit and put 2 per category? Can they put 2 per category? They don't have the depth.
No, they don't have the depth, and so therefore it's another reason that Europe really is shooting themselves in the foot, doing it. And you have to look at it from, a point of view, from long term and say, well, is this really going to do us any favours? Because you're absolutely right. Pan America, Australasia, are not going to be able to put out 2 in every weight category in any way. So it's not going to be of any advantage to them.
So I'm trying to figure out then why the EJU would do something like this. So I'm thinking then that because of the Grand Prix and Grand Slams, that the top echelon of the world, of world judo, is going to already have accumulated the points at the Grand Slams and the Grand Prix. So maybe the EJU are thinking this is a way we can get more people qualified through the European Union qualifications. Would that be it?
I'm not entirely sure. I think that we've followed suit because it's, we've followed the World Championship example. I think it's very much in the experimental stages at the moment because they really are not quite sure how it's going to work its way out. I definitely think it's going to be easier for, different continental states to qualify than Europe. I think
for
Europe,
the other continental unions, I mean like Pan America. And
I think
Africa
for the other continental unions, I think it's going to be easier for them to qualify than it is for Europe.
Is that the reason then? They're trying to even the playing field maybe because Europe being such a superpower alongside the Japanese Asia, Japanese, Korea and China.
Well, no, you see, it's always been, easier for the big countries in Asia to qualify. They've always qualified full teams virtually. I'm talking about China, Mongolia now, and Japan and Korea, and then the rest are fighting for obviously qualification categories and people in those categories. I think in Europe, we've been absolutely murdering each other all the way through the Grand Prix, Grand Slams, and the World Cups, trying to qualify right to the last minute. And if you have a look at the first qualification event that we did in 1996, that's exactly what happened to Europe. I mean, Russia didn't get a medal, Great Britain didn't get medals, and we didn't quite know then why that was and the reasons behind that. But the reasons were the qualification carried on right up to the Olympic Games. Everybody that went to the Olympic Games was tired, fatigued, and burnt out.
I know I was tired. I mean, our last qualification was right up to Cuba Cup in June.
I mean, absolutely burnt out, and all of the Olympic performances were left in the qualification events.
Well, this is new news. I mean, this has just come out of the EJU Congress that happened in Kiev last weekend. So as news unfolds, we'll keep everybody up to date, and when we find out information, we'll pass it on to yourselves. You're off to Japan and China tomorrow. Best of luck with your team. A Grand Slam in Tokyo and Grand Prix in Qingdao. We look forward to your report there.
Well, let's hope we get some important points. We need to get early points, for some of our athletes, and some of our athletes might be going for late points. But, that's the way we have to play it. And, best of luck to all of them out there.
Great. Thanks, Neil.